Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The time now is 2:05 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024.
Thank you for contacting the Florida Department of Law Enforcement Office of Inspector General. If you'd like to leave a message, press 1. To speak with an Office of Inspector General member, press 2. Florida Department of Law Enforcement Inspector General's Office, how can I help you?
My name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fouad. My father, Mohsen Fouad, retired from the Broward Sheriff's Office after 30 years of service. I'm his son. There's a reoccurring situation that involves reoccurring violations of 18 United States Code Statute 1513, the Retaliation Against a Victim, Witness, or Informant statute, and there's reoccurring violations of Statute 766.110, the healthcare.
Okay, so any complaints on a law enforcement officer for violating that needs to be reported to the employing agency's internal affairs unit.
Yes. So traditionally, that's what someone would do, which is what I did also. But these reoccurring U.S. codes and statutes that are being violated also involve Statute 766.110, the health.
Okay, so what happened when you reported it to the internal affairs unit?
So they tried to cover up the case, and the case was also involving violations of Statute 766.110, the healthcare.
Okay, so if you're unhappy with the way the internal affairs unit conducted the investigation, next course of action would be to contact the sheriff directly. From there, it would be your local county commissioner's office, and from there, it'd be your local state attorney's office.
Okay. Yes, I did all of that. I also reported these recurring violations that involve Statute 766.110, the healthcare liability statute.
So Florida Department of Law Enforcement's primary role is to provide investigative support to local sheriff's office and police departments when they request our assistance. We do not have the independent authority to interject ourselves in any local law enforcement matter without being first requested to investigate by the sheriff or the police chief.
Yeah, so it involves the police department trying to cover it up, and it also involves the hospital trying to cover it up.
Okay, any complaint on a hospital, you have to report it to the Department of Health.
Yes, that's what I did also. So I'm in Tallahassee, Florida now for my safety because of these reoccurring violations of U.S. codes and statutes in South Florida. And specifically, there was a situation involving an officer from the city of Miami Police Department attempting to murder me because I reported him misconducting himself while he was in a position of authority.
Like I've already advised you, any complaint on a law enforcement officer must be reported to that law enforcement officer's internal affairs unit. That is Florida statute. They're responsible for conducting an investigation on their own employees. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement cannot investigate another law enforcement agency's employee without the law enforcement agency requesting our assistance.
Yes. So how do I find out if there's a different department to speak to or speak with that supersedes them, being that the police department is corrupt?
If it's a police department, your next course of action would be to contact the mayor, the city manager, or city council members.
Okay. You said that the mayor, the city council, or the city council
or
members?
The city manager, yes.
City manager. Okay, so in Miami, Florida, who would I contact exactly? You said the mayor.
You would contact the mayor. I'm not 100% sure who the mayor is for Miami, Florida.
Okay. Could you verify who the mayor is? Is that possible?
Hold on just a moment.
Information in Florida and provide provides access to this information on our website at fdle.state.fl.us. For $24, you can conduct a statewide criminal history check and receive results back in a matter of minutes.
Did you check, sir?
Yes.
The mayor is going to be Daniela Levine Cava. Last name is Cava.
Okay. Yeah, she was harassing me also when I was in South Florida.
Any complaint on an elected official, you would need to contact the Judicial Qualification Commission.
Judicial Qualification Commission. What's their phone number?
It's going to be 850-488-1581.
850-488-1581.
81.
1581. Okay. 488 1581. Okay, and then also I called the Tallahassee Police Department to report specifically an officer who committed a discourtesy and attempted to falsify a police report out of a desperate defense for a nurse that physically assaulted me at the Tallahassee Police Department. I was directed by the Department of Health and the ACHA to contact the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to report that officer.
No, like I said, any law enforcement agency is responsible for conducting an internal affairs investigation on their own employees. So if you have a complaint against the Tallahassee Police Department officer, you need to contact the Tallahassee Police Department.
Okay. So I called them and I reported her. Specifically, I spoke with an internal affairs detective there. She was really defensive. But then at the same time, I don't know if she was doing that from an investigative perspective, but I didn't feel like she was entirely. But then again, potentially she could have been. But the fact that these same reoccurring violations and the pattern that's forming is indicating that they're purposely violating U.S. codes and statutes to cover up these situations that are being reported.
Sir, like I've already told you, if you have a complaint on a law enforcement officer, it has to be reported to that law enforcement officer's employing agency. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement, we cannot investigate another law enforcement agency's officers without being first requested to do so by that agency.
Right, and then how long are they required to investigate the case? Is there a statute of limitations on that, or?
That's something you'd have to ask them. I can't give you any kind of legal advice or any information as opposed to that.
So is every police department different in the sense of how long they are required to keep their investigations open, or how long they could keep them open and things like that?
That's something you would have to ask that department.
Yeah, because I remember when I was asking them for the evidence that they have, they pretty much told me I have to wait until they finish their investigation or something like that.
Correct. If it's an ongoing investigation, I'm pretty sure no law enforcement agency will give you any information with an ongoing investigation.
Okay, but traditionally, how long does
Sir, it just depends on how long it takes for an investigation to be completed. There is no specific time frame for an investigation.
Okay, so an investigation involving a government employee or a government employee injuring somebody, traditionally there's no statute of limitations on that, right? Because it's a criminal.
Sir, I cannot give you any legal questions or legal advice. If you have legal questions, you need to contact an attorney.
Right. Traditionally, that would be the case. So I called several different attorneys, and they were scared to sue the police. So it became another very high-profile
The
situation.
only thing I can do is give you the number to the Florida Legal Services. They're a nonprofit organization that could possibly give you the information you're seeking.
Yes, I called them also, but they said they don't sue the police.
Okay, well, sir, I can't give you any other information than what I've provided.
Is there a supervisor there I can speak to?
No, sir. The only person in the office right now is myself. But if they were here, they're going to give you the same information I just gave you.
And then the department that's above them, you said the mayor, the county commissioner, or the
Local state attorney's office, yes, sir.
The local state attorney's office.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I called the local state attorney's office also, and they tried to cover it up as well.
If you've got a complaint on an attorney, you can always contact the Florida Bar if you have a complaint on an attorney.
So the state attorney is regulated by the Florida Bar also?
Yes, sir. The Supreme Court of Florida has created the Florida Bar as an investigation arm to enforce any standards of ethical conduct of any lawyers.
Interesting. Yeah, because I called the Florida Bar also, and I filed bar complaints and reported them to the Florida Bar, specifically the attorneys that were assigned to the case from the City of Miami Attorney's Office, and the fact that they also tried to cover it up, and the Florida Bar didn't help me either, nor did they...
Okay, sir, I've given you all the information I can. My line is ringing, so I'm going to have to disconnect the line.
Okay,
you have a good day.
I'll try. Thank you. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. The time now is 2:17 p.m. The duration of this audio transcript is 12 minutes and 14 seconds.
Welcome to the Florida Bar. Please listen carefully as our menu has changed. Para Español marque siete. If you know your party's extension, you may enter that number now. If you are calling regarding the bar exam or being sworn in, press 2. If you are a member of the Florida Bar, press 3. All others, press 4. To be referred to an attorney for your legal needs, press 1. If you are a consumer and have an inquiry or complaint regarding a Florida lawyer, please press 2. If you want information about a lawyer's disciplinary history, press 3. If you have a question or complaint about someone who is not a member of the Florida Bar but is giving legal advice, press 4. If you are calling regarding the client security fund, press 5. For questions regarding a lawyer's membership status, press 6. For addressing services regarding mailing labels or lists, press 7. To confirm a lawyer's continuing education credit or for information about board certification, press 8. To hear these options again, press 9. To return to the main menu, press star. Otherwise, please hold for the operator. Thank you for calling the Florida Bar. All representatives are currently assisting other members. Please hold and we will be with you shortly. Are you aware, as a member of the Florida Bar, you have access to approximately 60 discounted member benefits? Visit floridabar.org/member benefits to view the full list of available products and services. As a member of the Florida Bar, you can enroll in the newly enhanced Florida Bar Lawyer Referral Service to receive referrals from the public seeking a referral to an attorney. Visit lrs.floridabar.org and click the Lawyers Apply link at the top right of the page.
Did you know that you can update your personal information online? Please visit the My Account tab on the member portal at member.floridabar.org to update your information. Did you know that your certificate of good standing is now available online? Please visit the My Status tab on the member portal at member.floridabar.org.
Florida Bar members seeking advice from another lawyer on a specific area of law can utilize the Lawyers Advising Lawyers program. Lawyers Advising Lawyers is a free service offered to Florida Bar members. Visit lawyersadvisinglawyers.com for additional information. Florida Bar members have access to a wide variety of law office management and technology resources and complimentary CLE content, including the Legal Fuel Speaker Series. Find out more about the variety of resources available by visiting legalfuel.com. The Florida Bar offers more than 40 legal publication titles and law practice manuals in a variety of substantive practice areas. Visit floridabar.org/CLE and click the Florida. Thank you for calling the Florida Bar. How may I direct your call?
Yes, ma'am. I need an attorney.
What county?
I'm in Leon County in Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay, let me transfer you with our Lawyer Referral Service.
Hi, this is the Florida Bar. What county would you need an attorney in?
Leon County.
All right. Can I get your first and last name, please?
Yes, my name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad. First name Omar, Omar, Oscar Mary Alpha Romeo. Mohsen, Mohsen, Mary Oscar Halo Sam Echo Nora. Ibrahim, Ibrahim, India Bravo Romeo Alpha Halo India Mary. And then my last name is Fuad, Fouad, Foxtrot Oscar Uniform Alpha Delta.
All right. And is this a good phone number to leave on the referral?
Yes, 772-538-8586.
And is this a good phone number? Oh, yeah, this is a good phone number. All right. And what would you need an attorney for?
Okay, so could I explain the case to you so maybe you kind of tell me what lawyer?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I had to go to the emergency room here in Tallahassee Memorial Hospital emergency room because of a cervical sprain caused by a police officer from the City of Miami Police Department. Specifically, a police officer, he twisted my neck to the right, and then he put me in a chokehold, and then he twisted my neck to the right. The fifth time, I struggled to say I couldn't breathe, and then he picked me up, and he body slammed me onto my left side onto the concrete, and then he arrested me, and then he falsified the police report, and then he brought me to the emergency room, and he wrote on the police reports that he arrested me and brought me to the emergency room because I was walking into traffic, and that's a lie. The attempted murder by the officer was witnessed by his sergeant, and told his sergeant that the officer misconducted himself while he was in a position of authority before he arrived. Specifically, he pushed me. And when I was telling his sergeant that he pushed me, the officer put me in a chokehold, twisted my neck to the right, body slammed me on the concrete, then he arrested me. And then he falsified the police report and brought me to the emergency room. And since then, I've had to move from South Florida to Tallahassee, Florida for my safety. And I'm now in Tallahassee, Florida. But there's a pattern that has been forming of reoccurring violations of 1/8 United States Code Statute 1513, the retaliation against a victim, witness, or informant statute, and reoccurring violations of Statute 766.110, the healthcare liability statute, and they're happening together. And also the specific failure to intervene, specifically the sergeant violated his duty to intervene and by stopping the officer from attempting to murder me. And these reoccurring violations are continuing to happen. And I'm in Tallahassee, Florida now, and on May 16th, 2024, from approximately 9 p.m. to approximately the next morning at 1 a.m. on May 17th, 2024, I was at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital emergency room because of the cervical sprain caused by the officer who attempted to murder me from the City of Miami Police Department because I reported him misconducting himself while in a position of authority. And when I was at the emergency room, I informed the nurse that my Humana Medicaid health insurance requires the nurse to call them to tell them I'm being discharged from the emergency room so they could dispatch transportation through my health insurance. And the nurse didn't like that, and he snatched the EKG wires off of my chest, and it caused my neck to whiplash. And then it hurt my neck real bad, but he also snatched the heart rate monitor wire that was on my right index finger, and that also caused my neck to whiplash, and it hurt my neck real bad. And then he wheeled me out to the lobby of the emergency room, and I called 911 to report him, and I asked the nurses at the front desk what his name is so I could properly report him to the 911 person on the phone. And while I was on the phone with 911, they witnessed hearing the nurses that I was asking them what the nurse's name is who physically assaulted me and also wheeled me out to the lobby. She witnessed hearing them yelling at me and being very rude to me and trying to falsify a police report and obstructing justice out of a desperate defense for the nurse that physically assaulted me. And then there was an officer who arrived, and when the officer arrived, they falsified the police report to the officer out of a desperate defense for the nurse that physically assaulted me. And I had to tell the officer to call her supervisor because she was falling into the falsified police report, and she was attempting to trespass me under a falsified police report. And I was the one who called 911 to report the officer physically assaulted me. And then she dispatched her sergeant. Her sergeant arrived, and when her sergeant arrived, he clearly acknowledged that I was just in the lobby waiting for my transportation from my health insurance company to bring me home after being discharged from the emergency room. And he also acknowledged that a different nurse acknowledged that I was being discharged and called my transportation company from my health insurance company, and they provided her with a reservation number, and they also informed her that they were sending transportation to bring me home within 30 minutes to 3 hours. And I was just sitting in the lobby waiting for the transportation. And the only other thing I did was call 911 to report that the officer physically assaulted me. And the front desk nurses, they were trying to falsify a police report to the police officer that arrived out of a desperate defense for the nurse who physically assaulted me. And these types of situations keep reoccurring, and the pattern that's forming is exactly that, which is violations of 1/8 United States Code Statute 1513, the retaliation against the victim, witness, or informant statute, and the relatively connected statute that's being violated reoccurringly, which is the statute 766.110, the healthcare liability statute. And I need to make this stop because I'm still injured. And literally, I was sitting in the lobby of the emergency room in a wheelchair with a neck brace on because of a cervical sprain from the police brutality in South Florida. And these problems are reoccurring. You know, I was at the emergency room because of a follow-up appointment that I wasn't able to go to because of the cervical sprain. And on the discharge documentation, they directed me to return to the emergency room within 1 to 2 days if I wasn't able to follow up with my primary care physician because of the cervical sprain. And I wasn't able to go to my primary care physician appointment within 1 to 2 days. So I did what the discharge documentation directed me to do 2 days prior, which was to follow up with the emergency room within 1 to 2 days if I'm not able to see my primary care physician within 1 to 2 days. And I went to the emergency. I called 911. They brought me there in an ambulance. And then the nurse at the emergency room physically assaulted me by snatching the EKG wires off of my chest and the heart rate monitor wire off my right index finger, causing my neck to whiplash, and it hurt my neck.
Okay, so I found you an attorney in Leon County for that. Would you like their information?
Yes.
All right. The name of the attorney is Kimberly. Last name Corkill. It's C as in cat. ORKILL.
Okay.
And the phone number is 850-375-3475.
Okay, could you email me her information?
Yeah. What would be a good email?
It's the same email address that's on file. It's duediligencecorporate@gmail.com. Delta Uniform Echo, DUE, and then the word diligence, regular spelling, and then the word corporate, regular spelling, @gmail.com.
All right.
And what
All right.
is,
Give me a.
what is she special?
What was that?
What is she special? What does she
She specializes in civil rights and in medical malpractice and personal injury.
Okay, perfect. Yes, that's what I needed her to know. Or to
Yeah. So yeah, I've sent her the email, and it's gone to you as well. So yeah, just give the attorney a call with the information on the email and let her know you were referred by the Florida bar. All right.
Yes, sir. And what's your name?
My name is Peter.
Peter. Okay. Could you verify the spelling of the email? Because I haven't received it.
Yeah, D as in dog, U, E, D as in dog, I, L, I, G, E, N, C, E, corporate, CORPORATE @gmail.com.
Yes, that's correct. Could you send the email one more time? Because I didn't receive it.
Yeah. Let me see about that. So it should have gone through a second time. Yeah, it should have gone through. Did you get it?
No, it didn't go through yet. Does it say that it was sent on your end?
Yes.
Interesting.
It's due diligence corporate at gmail.com, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, and you verified the spelling correctly also. I'm trying to find out why it didn't go through, though. It's awkward. I usually receive the...
Yeah, sometimes it takes a while to come in. Like, it could take like 5 minutes.
Okay. Could you send that same email to another email address? Is 18USCSS1513 at gmail.com?
No. I just sent it to the due diligence corporate at gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. I just received it at 2:36 p.m. Okay, I just received it. That's perfect.
All right, yeah. So just give the attorney a call and let her know you're referred by the Florida bar. All right.
All right. What's your name?
My name is Peter.
Peter. Thank you, Peter. And today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024, right?
Correct.
And right now it's 2:37 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Peter.
All right. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
Same to you. Bye.
Thank you for calling the Corkill Law Firm. Please leave us your name, number, and a brief description of your legal issue, and we will call you back. Due to the high number of calls we receive on a daily basis, please allow at least 24 hours for returned calls.
My name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad. Last name Fuad. Foxtrot Oscar Uniform Alpha Delta FOUAD. My phone number is 772-538-8586. I need your help with a case involving medical malpractice, personal injury, and civil rights violations. I was referred by the Florida bar. It says case number ID 452995, and the date referred is June 3rd, 2024. I spoke to a gentleman named Peter at the Florida bar, and I explained the situation to him, and he specifically referred me to you, and I asked him what type of experience you have, and he said medical malpractice. He said civil rights violations, medical malpractice, and personal injury. And that is the type of attorney that I need with that type of experience. Once again, my phone number is 772-538-8586. And my name again is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad. My last name is spelled FOUAD, Foxtrot Oscar Uniform Alpha Delta. The time now is 2:40 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. Please call me as soon as you get this message. Once again, my phone number is 772-538-8586. I'm currently injured. I have a cervical sprain, and I have several injuries to my back, my hands, my arms, my shoulders, and my lower extremities. And I was at the emergency room on May 16th, 2024, from approximately 9 p.m. to approximately 1 a.m. the next day. On May 17th, 2024, I was brought there by an ambulance because of a cervical sprain. I was directed by the discharge documentation to follow up with the emergency room within 1 to 2 days if I wasn't able to go to my primary care physician within 1 to 2 days. So I was not able to go to my primary care physician within 1 to 2 days, so I did what the discharge documentation directed me to do.
Your recording has reached the maximum length. To replay your message, press 1. To delete and re-record your message, press 3. For delivery options, press 4. To send a fax, press 6. To cancel this message, press star. To send this message now, press pound or hang up. Your message has been sent. Thank you for calling. Goodbye.
Thank you for calling the Corkill Law Firm. Please leave us your name, number, and a brief description of your legal issue, and we will call you back. Due to the high number of calls we receive on a daily basis, please allow at least 24 hours for return calls.
This is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad again. The time now is 2:42 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. The voicemail that I just left for you, it timed out before I was able to finish explaining to you what happened. Specifically, I was brought to the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital by ambulance because of a cervical sprain follow-up appointment that I was directed to go to by the discharge documentation 2 days prior from the emergency room. And I went to the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital in an ambulance, and when I was there in a wheelchair with a neck brace on because of the cervical sprain, and there was a nurse there identified as Christopher. He forcefully snatched the EKG wires off of my chest, and it caused my neck to hurt really bad. And he also snatched the heart rate monitor wire off my right index finger, and it also hurt my neck really bad. Traditionally, they're supposed to just remove each EKG wire off the metal prong that's attached to an adhesive that's stuck to the patient's chest. He's supposed to remove them one by one. And instead of him doing that, he grabbed a handful of the wires and snatched them off of my chest, and it caused my neck to whiplash and it hurt my neck. It also hurt my neck when he snatched the heart rate monitor off my right index finger. And then he wheeled me out into the lobby. And before he wheeled me out into the lobby and snatched the EKG wires off my chest, and the heart rate monitor wire off my right index finger, I informed him that my Humana Medicaid health insurance requires a nurse to call them when I'm being discharged from the emergency room so they could dispatch transportation to bring me home. And he didn't like that, and he snatched the wires off of my chest. He snatched the EKG wires off my chest and the heart rate monitor wire off my right index finger. And then he wheeled me out into the lobby. When he wheeled me out into the lobby, I called 911 to report him physically assaulting me and hurting my neck. And I was asking the front desk nurses what his name is so I could properly report him to the police. And while I was on the phone with the police officer Cobb, badge number 888, who called me back after I called 911 and reported him, she witnessed hearing the front desk nurses yelling at me and being very rude and aggressive to me.
Your recording has reached the maximum length. To replay your message, press 1. To delete and re-record your message, press 3. For delivery options, press 4. To send a fax, press 6. To cancel this message, press star. To send this message now, press pound or hang up. Your message has been sent. Thank you for calling. Goodbye.
Thank you for calling the Corkill Law Firm. Please leave us your name, number, and a brief description of your legal issue, and we will call you back. Due to the high number of calls we receive on a daily basis, please allow at least 24 hours for a returned call.
My name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad. The time now is 2:46 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. This is the third voicemail in a row that I've left for you. The second voicemail, just as well as the first voicemail, timed out before I was able to finish explaining to you what happened. Specifically, I was at the front desk of the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital emergency room on the second floor of the parking garage, and I was asking the nurses what the front desk nurses what the nurse's name was, who wheeled me out into the lobby because he physically assaulted me by snatching the EKG wires off of my chest, hurting my neck, and snatching the heart rate monitor wire off my right index finger and hurting my neck. And I was literally sitting there in a wheelchair with a neck brace on, and I called 911 to report the nurse physically assaulting me. And then an officer identified as Officer Cobb, COBB, Charlie Oscar Bravo Bravo, badge number 888, called me back, and I was explaining the situation to her, and she witnessed hearing the front desk nurses yelling at me, being very aggressive to me, because I was asking them what the name of the nurse is so I could properly report them to her. And she also witnessed hearing them trying to falsify and obstruct justice. She witnessed hearing them trying to falsify a report and obstructing justice out of a desperate defense for the nurse who was identified as Nurse Christopher, who physically assaulted me. And an officer arrived, and they attempted to falsify a police report to the officer to get me trespassed from the emergency room for no reason. I didn't do anything wrong. And she attempted to trespass me for no reason. So I asked her, and I explained to her that they were lying to her, and they were doing that because I reported a nurse physically assaulting me. And she attempted to trespass me for no reason under a falsified report, and I asked her to call her supervisor. Her supervisor arrived, and once her supervisor arrived, I explained to him the situation, and he acknowledged that I was brought there in an ambulance. I was sitting there in a wheelchair with a neck brace on, and I was waiting for my transportation to arrive to bring me home after being discharged from the emergency room. And he acknowledged that a different nurse called my insurance company to confirm that I was being discharged and for them to send transportation.
Your recording has reached the maximum length. To replay your message, press 1. To delete and re-record your message, press 3. For delivery options, press 4. To send a fax, press 6. To cancel this message, press star. To send this message now, press pound or hang up. Your message has been sent. Thank you for calling. Goodbye.
Thank you for calling the Corkill Law Firm. Please leave us your name, number, and a brief description of your legal issue, and we will call you back. Due to the high number of calls we receive on a daily basis, please allow at least 24 hours for a returned call.
My name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad. The time now is 2:50 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. This is the fourth voicemail I've left for you in a row. The third, second, and first voicemail timed out before I was able to finish telling you what happened. It was a sergeant who arrived to the emergency room because I asked the officer to call her supervisor because they were falsifying a report to her out of a desperate defense for the nurse identified as Nurse Christopher, who physically assaulted me by snatching the EKG wires off of my chest and hurt my neck, and then snatching the heart rate monitor off my right index finger and then hurt my neck, and then wheeled me out into the lobby. The sergeant that arrived acknowledged that a different nurse, other than that nurse, called my Humana Medicaid health insurance to inform them that I'm being discharged from the emergency room so they could send transportation to bring me home. And the sergeant also acknowledged that they provided a reservation number and also informed the nurse that they were sending transportation within 30 minutes to 3 hours to bring me home. And I was just sitting there in the lobby in a wheelchair with a neck brace on, waiting for my transportation. And the only other thing that I did was call 911 to report that the nurse physically assaulted me by snatching the EKG wires off of my chest, hurting my neck, and snatching the heart rate monitor wire off my right index finger and hurting my neck. And the front desk nurses were trying to falsify a report to the police officer who arrived out of a desperate defense for the nurse who physically assaulted me. And they're not supposed to do that. And I started feeling chest pain in the middle of my chest, a really sharp chest pain. And then the sharp chest pain went from the middle of my chest to the left side of my chest above my heart. And I asked the officers to transport me to a different hospital. And they transported me to the HCA Lake Jackson Hospital here in Tallahassee, Florida. And once I went to the HCA Lake Jackson Hospital, I saw a doctor there because of the chest pain and my neck injuries. And then they called the transportation again, and I returned home. But these problems keep reoccurring, and I was at...
Your recording has reached the maximum length. To replay your message, press 1. To delete and re-record your message, press 3. For delivery options, press 4. To send a fax, press 6. To cancel this message, press star. To send this message now, press pound or hang up. Your message has been sent. Thank you for calling. Goodbye.
Thank you for calling the Fort Hill Law Firm. Please leave us your name, number, and a brief description of your legal issue, and we will call you back. Due to the high number of calls we receive on a daily basis, please allow at least 24 hours for returned calls.
My name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad. The time now is 2:54 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. This is the fifth voicemail that I've left for you in a row. The fourth, third, second, and first voicemail timed out before I was able to finish explaining to you what happened. As I was mentioning, these problems keep reoccurring, and I was at the emergency room here in Tallahassee because of injuries to my neck caused by an officer from the City of Miami Police Department, specifically attempting to murder me because I told his sergeant that he pushed me before he arrived, specifically misconducting himself while in a position of authority. And when I told on the officer put me in a chokehold, and then he twisted my neck to the right. The fifth time, I struggled to say I couldn't breathe, and then he picked me up and he body slammed me onto the concrete, onto my left side, and then he arrested me, and then he falsified the police reports and said that he arrested me and brought me to the emergency room because I was walking into traffic, and that's not true. And the sergeant who I reported him to failed to intervene and violated his duty to intervene, and they both violated 18 United States Code Statute 1513, the retaliation against a victim, witness, or informant statute. And then the hospital that I was brought to, which is the Jackson Memorial Hospital, they tried to cover up the attempt of murder, and I was brought there under a falsified police report in handcuffs. And the hospital violated statute 766.110, the healthcare liability statute. And as I mentioned, these situations keep reoccurring, and there's a pattern that's forming that proves exactly just that, which is that they're reoccurringly violating these statutes, and they're relatively connected and they're pertinent to each other. And they're also unethically hacking my phone. They're electronically harassing me. They're aware in real time everything that I'm documenting on my phone because of these complaints, and an attempt for me to fulfill all of my legal and medical affairs so I could fully recover and obtain monetary relief.
Your recording has reached the maximum length. To replay your message, press 1. To delete and re-record your message, press 3. For delivery options, press 4. To send a fax, press 6. To cancel this message, press star. To send this message now, press pound or hang up. Your message has been sent. Thank you for calling. Goodbye.
Thank you for calling the Corkill Law Firm. Please leave us your name, number, and a brief description of your legal issue, and we will call you back. Due to the high number of calls we receive on a daily basis, please allow at least 24 hours for returned calls.
My name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad. The time now is 2:58 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. This is the 6th voicemail that I have left for you in a row. The 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st voicemail timed out before I was able to finish explaining to you what they did to me. Specifically, my phone is being unethically hacked. I'm being electronically harassed. And all these things are reoccurring ever since I filed the complaints about these cases in its entirety, and they're aware in real time that about everything that I'm documenting on my phone, and they're harassing me during, before, and after any and all of my legal and medical affairs that I need to accomplish, and they're doing that out of a desperate defense from my opposing counsels, and my opposing counsels are government employees, because I was injured by a government employee originally in South Florida, specifically officers from the City of Miami Police Department. And I reported the situation in its entirety, and they've been harassing me ever since. And I also, from experience, I also know not to activate my voicemail on my phone, because they were also using my voicemail as a mechanism to try to cover up my complaints. They would call me and leave voicemails on my phone during, before, and after, they were unethically hacking my phone and harassing me. And they would leave the voicemails on my phone in accordance with dates and times and time frames where they knew I would be preoccupied with legal and medical affairs that I'm trying to accomplish. And they knew, because of the pattern and in me being preoccupied trying to fulfill my legal and medical affairs while they're harassing me, they knew that if they leave me those voicemails at those specific times, I would lose track of the times that I would have to call them back and the time frames I would have to call them back in. And they would use that as an excuse and say things like, yeah, well, we called you and left you a voicemail. And they were aware that I wasn't able to check my voicemail in time, and I would lose track of those things instead of them actually sending me something in writing or genuinely helping me without unethically hacking my phone and harassing me and putting me in difficult situations.
Your recording has reached the maximum length. To replay your message, press 1. To delete and re-record your message, press 3. For delivery options, press 4. To send a fax, press 6. To cancel this message, press star. To send this message now, press pound or hang up. Your message has been sent. Thank you for calling. Goodbye.
Time now is 3:02 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. The duration of this audio transcript is now 57 minutes and 6 seconds. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for calling the Agency for Healthcare Administration. This call may be monitored for training purposes. Please listen carefully to the following updated options as they have recently changed. You will have a number of options to choose from. Would you like to know if you qualify for Medicaid services, need a replacement gold card, or want information about the medically needy program? Please call the Department of Children and Families at 1-866-762-2237. If you are calling about the services provided under your Medicaid health insurance plan, such as transportation, dental services, verifying treatment coverage, or want to change your plan, press 1. If you are filing a complaint about the care received in a healthcare facility, press 2. If you have questions regarding background screening results, exemptions, or the BGS clearinghouse, press 3. If you are calling to file a complaint against your Medicaid HMO, need a status on a Medicaid claim, or have Medicaid-related questions, press 4. To learn more about our agency, please visit www.ahca.myflorida.com. Again, that's www.ahca.myflorida.com. If you need assistance with other areas of our agency, press 5. All of our agents are currently helping other individuals. Please stay on the line and we will be with you shortly.
Healthcare and Administration, how can I help you?
My name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad. I was just directed by the Internal Affairs Detective Ryan from the Tallahassee Police Department to file a complaint with the ACHA, specifically about a nurse identified as Nurse Christopher from the Tallahassee.
Let me get you over to the complaint unit. Hold on just a moment.
Thank you for calling the Agency for Healthcare Administration. This call may be monitored for training purposes. Please listen carefully to the following updated options as they have recently changed. You will have a number of options to choose from. Would you like to know if you qualify for Medicaid services, need a replacement gold card, or want information about the medically needy program? Please call the Department of Children and Families at 1-866-762 6222237. If you are calling about the services provided under your Medicaid health insurance plan, such as transportation, dental services, verifying treatment coverage, or want to change your plan, press 1. If you are filing a complaint about the care received in a healthcare facility, press 2. If you have questions regarding background screening results, exemptions, or the BGS clearinghouse, press 3. If you are calling to file a complaint against your Medicaid HMO, need a status on a Medicaid claim, or have Medicaid-related questions, press 4. To learn more about our agency, please visit www.ahca.myflorida.com. Again, that's www.ahca.myflorida.com. If you need assistance with other areas of our agency, press 5. Did you know you can file a complaint online? Visit our website at ahca.myflorida.com and select Contact Us. Please understand that staff and staff rudeness are not regulated. We urge you to contact the facility administration to report your concerns. If you have a complaint about a doctor or nurse or misdiagnosis, please call the Department of Health at 850-245-4339. Again, that's the Department of Health at 850-245-4339. Or visit their website, www.floridahealth.gov. Please listen carefully to the following 2 options if you are calling to file a complaint against a hospital, nursing home, home health agency, laboratory, dialysis center, or hospice. Press 1. If you are calling to file a complaint against an assisted living facility or other facility types, press 2. Did you know you can file a complaint online? Visit our website at ahca.myflorida.com and select Contact Us. Please understand that staff and staff rudeness are not regulated. We urge you to contact the facility administration to report your concerns. If you have a complaint about a doctor or nurse or misdiagnosis, please call the Department of Health at 850-245-4339. Again, that's the Department of Health at 850-245-4339. Or visit their website, www.floridahealth.gov. Please listen carefully to the following 2 options if you are calling to file a complaint against a hospital, nursing home, home health agency, laboratory, dialysis center, or hospice. Press 1. If you are calling to file a complaint against an assisted living facility or other facility types, press 2. All of our agents are currently helping other individuals. Please stay on the line and we will be with you shortly.
Thank you for contacting the Agency for Healthcare Administration. How can I help you?
My name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad. I was just directed by the Internal Affairs Detective Ryan, from the Tallahassee Police Department, to file a complaint with ACA, the ACHA, about a nurse identified as Christopher assaulting me while I was at the Tallahassee.
Okay, so if your complaint's about a nurse, you would need to contact Department of Health. They're the ones that issue the nursing license. We only regulate facilities, not nurses.
Okay, so if you could maybe kind of help me out with this situation. I was assaulted by the nurse, specifically the nurse. I was brought to the emergency room in an ambulance because of a cervical sprain, and I was in a wheelchair and I had a neck brace on, and the nurse, identified as Christopher, snatched the EKG wires off of my chest, and it hurt my neck more, and he snatched the heart rate monitor wire off of my right index finger, and it also hurt my neck more, and it made my neck whiplash. Specifically, though, they were supposed to remove the EKG wires and the adhesive pad with the metal prong that they're attached to, one by one, off of my chest. But instead of him doing that, he just grabbed a handful of them and snatched them off my chest very aggressively. And the nurse had really bad bedside manners also and was very erratic. And I tried to call 911 to report the situation. And the nurses at the front desk, instead of them helping me, they trespassed me from the emergency room. And I had to call the police to report the nurse. And I was just asking them what the nurse's name is while I was on the phone with 911. And they started getting really rude and aggressive and trying to intimidate me. And they also obstructed justice and tried to propagandize a falsified police report out of a desperate defense for the nurse. And they were doing that while I was on the phone with 911, and they heard them, and they told me to tell them to call them. And the 911 operator on the phone told me to give them their number so they can call her, because they're not supposed to be talking to me like that. And she clearly heard them being very rude and aggressive to me and trying to falsify a police report out of a desperate defense for the nurse that assaulted me, that I was calling 911 to complain about. And I was just literally sitting there in the lobby in a wheelchair with a neck brace on, waiting for the transportation from my health insurance to bring me home after I was discharged from the emergency room that day. And the police officers that arrived, the first officer that arrived, she fell into the propagandized falsified police report that they were trying to propagandize out of a desperate defense for the nurse that assaulted me. And when I immediately noticed that, I asked the officer to call her supervisor. And then when her supervisor arrived, her supervisor acknowledged that I was brought there in an ambulance, and I was just sitting in the lobby waiting for my transportation to bring me home. And he also acknowledged that they provided me a reservation number, and they said that they'll be arriving within 30 minutes to 3 hours. And they just required for a nurse to call them to confirm that I'm discharged so they could send transportation. And he confirmed all of that. And the only thing that I did other than that was I called 911 to report that the nurse assaulted me. And they tried to falsify a police report to get me trespassed out of a desperate defense for the nurse that assaulted me. And they're not supposed to do that. And they made it a very big problem for me because my neurologist is at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, specifically Dr. Winston Ortiz. And he recently diagnosed me with nerve entrapment, and I have to go to do nerve tests and all these other things at the neurologist there also. So they made it a big problem for me just because I reported a nurse assaulting me, and they were supposed to help me instead of obstructing justice out of a desperate defense for the nurse that assaulted me. And I called the internal affairs because the officer who arrived first, she threatened to trespass me under a falsified police report. And that's why I asked her to call her supervisor. So I called the Tallahassee Police Department and explained the situation to them, just like I explained it to you. And they opened up the investigation, and she directed me to file a complaint about that nurse with the ACHA.
Okay, so we don't regulate the nurse. Let me provide you the number. The Department of Health, they're the ones that issue the license, so they would have regulatory authority over that nurse's license. Are you ready?
Yes.
It is 1-877-425-8852. Again, that's the Department of Health that has authority over nursing and doctor's license.
Okay, so in a situation like this, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to call anybody else other than the Department of Health to report them?
Not that I'm aware of. If you want to seek legal, you would need to seek an attorney.
Okay. Okay, so filing a police report. Should I file a police report also, or what should I do? I mean,
I can't give advice.
okay, so traditionally, if a nurse assaults somebody, are they supposed to call the police and file a police report, or did they just call the Department of Health directly?
It's whatever that person would want, however they would wish to proceed. It's totally up to you if you want to file a police report. But the Department of Health has regulatory authority to discipline that nurse.
Okay. So, but is it the same difference? Like, for example, if somebody who's not a nurse assaults somebody and injures them, and the person calls the police to tell the police what the person did, which is specifically assaulting them and injuring them, is it the same difference if a nurse does that to somebody?
Like I said, I can't give advice if you want to file a police report. The Department of Health only has authority over their license. They can't send them to jail or anything. That's only the legal jurisdiction, and that would be your local police department.
Okay, but what I'm saying is the nurse, just because a nurse is a nurse, it doesn't allow them to physically assault somebody and injure them, right?
No, sir, they shouldn't be physically assaulting anybody. Nobody should, no matter a nurse or a person.
Is that called bad bedside manners?
It wouldn't be called bedside manners. It would be called assault.
Right. That's what I thought also, because I'm starting to feel like I'm confused. You know, like traditionally, you know, if somebody, like for example, I have two daughters. Okay, if somebody assaulted my daughter, you know, regardless of whether they're a nurse or whether they're the president of the United States, they assaulted my daughter. You understand? So traditionally, I would want that person to be disciplined and go to jail, or, you know, provide.
Well, then if you want that person to be disciplined or go to jail, you need to contact your local police department and file a report.
Right. Okay. And what's your name, ma'am?
Christina.
Christina. Do you have a badge number there?
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yes.
8724.
8724. And then what's the best number to get in contact with your department?
It's 1877. Oh, hold on, let me give you the complaint unit number. Give me one moment. Okay, it's 1-888-419-3456.
Okay. Is there a complaint number attached to this complaint that I made to you today?
No, we didn't take a complaint today because you are complaining on the nursing license. And like I said, we do not regulate nursing license. That would be Department of Health, the number I provided you.
Okay. And then what about if I had to complain about the security there at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital emergency room? Is it the same department or is it a different department?
We don't have any regulatory authority over the security.
Okay. Who would?
I'm not sure anybody would have regulatory authority. That's kind of a policy. You might want to contact the hospital and see what their policies and procedures are.
Okay, so call the security department directly at the hospital?
You might want to call the hospital, the risk management, and see what their policies and procedures are.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Christina. And do you have a last name?
No, sir, we don't give out last names.
And you said your badge number is 8724, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. And today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024, right?
Yes,
And the time now is 1:25 p.m.
correct.
Okay, thank you, Christina.
You're welcome. You have a great day.
Same to you, ma'am. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for calling the Florida Department of Health Medical Quality Assurance, Consumer Services, and Compliance Management Units. Consumer Services investigates complaints against healthcare practitioners, regulates unlicensed activity, and monitors practitioner compliance with final orders. Your call may be monitored or recorded for quality or training purposes. You may file a complaint by visiting our interactive complaint portal at www.flhealthcomplaint.gov. That portal again is www.flhealthcomplaint.gov. If you know your party's extension or to dial by name, press the 7 key at any time during this message. To speak with an agent regarding filing a new complaint or for information on a current complaint, press 1. To speak with a compliance officer about complying with a final order, press 2. All other questions, please press 3. To repeat this message, press 9.
Good afternoon, Department of Health.
My name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad. I was directed by a detective from the Internal Affairs at the Tallahassee Police Department, specifically Detective Ryan from the Internal Affairs at the Tallahassee Police Department, to file a complaint with ACHA, ACHA, about a nurse identified as Nurse Christopher physically assaulting me at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital emergency room. Specifically,
Okay, let me get you over to that agency.
Thank you for calling the Agency for Healthcare Administration. This call may be monitored for training purposes. Please listen carefully to the following updated options as they have recently changed. You will have a number of options to choose from. Would you like to know if you qualify for Medicaid services, need a replacement gold card, or want information about the Medically Needy program? Please call the Department of Children and Families at 1-866-762-2237. If you are calling about the services provided under your Medicaid health insurance plan, such as transportation, dental services, verifying treatment coverage, or want to change your plan, press 1. If you are filing a complaint about the care received in a healthcare facility, press 2. If you have questions regarding background screening results, did you know you can file a complaint online? Visit our website at ahca.myflorida.com and select Contact Us. Please understand that staff and staff rudeness are not regulated. We urge you to contact the facility administration to report your concerns. If you have a complaint about a doctor or nurse or misdiagnosis, please call the Department of Health at 850-245-4339. Again, that's the Department of Health at 850-245-4339. Or visit their website, www.floridahealth.gov. Please listen carefully to the following 2 options if you are calling to file a complaint against a hospital, nursing home, home health agency, laboratory, dialysis center, or hospice. Press 1. If you are calling to file a complaint against an assisted living facility or other facility types, press 2. All of our agents are currently helping other individuals. Please stay on the line. Thanks for calling the Agency for Healthcare Administration Complaint Line. My name is Valencia. How may I assist you?
Yes, my name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad. I was directed by Detective Ryan from the Internal Affairs at the Tallahassee Police Department to file a complaint with ACHA, about a nurse physically assaulting me at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital emergency room. I called ACA and
You're calling to file a complaint against a nurse?
yes.
Okay, because the actual complaints against nurses is actually handled by the Department of Health Consumer Services Unit.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Let me pull some information up. Hang on a second. So to file the complaint against the actual nurse, you would contact the Department of Health Consumer Service. Do you have something to write that phone number down with?
Yes, it's 877-425-8852, right?
No, sir. It's 850-245-4339.
Eight 245-4339.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I just called and they told me I have to file that complaint with the Department of Health, and
To file a complaint against the nurse, you would file a complaint with the number that I just gave you, and that is the Department of Health Consumer Services Unit.
Okay, so what number is the 877-425-8852?
877. Let me see. The Department of Health Physician Complaint History. Did you call that number?
Well, I think they transferred me to them, or I'm trying to see. Yeah, I think they transferred me to them, but then when I explained the situation to them, they transferred me to this number.
Mm-hmm. Because we do take complaints. The type of complaints that we take here, we would take a complaint for like assisted living facility, nursing home, hospital, things like that. But if your complaint is against an actual nurse or doctor or physician, you would contact that number that I gave you.
Okay. So should I file the complaint against the hospital, being that the nurse worked at the hospital, or?
If you're filing a complaint against the actual nurse, you would file the complaint with the number that I gave you with the Department of Health.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm going to call it. You said 850-245-4339?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. Is there a way you could transfer me to them?
Sure, I can transfer you 1 moment.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling the Florida Department of Health, Medical Quality Assurance, Consumer Services, and Compliance Management Units. Consumer Services investigates complaints against healthcare practitioners, regulates unlicensed activities, and monitors practitioner compliance with final orders. Your call may be monitored or recorded for quality or training purposes. You may file a complaint by visiting our interactive complaint portal at www.flhealthcomplaints.gov. That portal again is www.flhealthcomplaints.gov. If you know your party's extension or to dial by name, press the 7 key at any time during this message. To speak with an agent regarding filing a new complaint or for information on a current complaint, press 1. To speak with a compliance officer about compliance.
Good afternoon, Department of Health.
Yes, My name is Omar. I was just speaking to you about the complaint that I have to make about Nurse Christopher at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital emergency room. I was directed to.
Yeah, so the complaints have to be started in writing. You can get that started on the website, and it'll go to our investigators for you.
Okay. Is there a supervisor that I could speak to?
No, there's not. How can I help you?
I really need to speak to a supervisor.
They're not available to take complaints over the phone. All the complaints have to be started in writing, so you're not able to do it on the website. We can mail the forms to you.
Okay. But it's a really complicated situation. It's not complicated at all. They're trying to make it complicated, but I really need to speak to a supervisor about the situation.
Right. They don't take calls from the public. You have to get the complaint started in writing, and then it goes to our investigators.
Okay. But I need to ask them a question. But I need to specifically ask the supervisor a question about the situation.
Right. They do not answer any questions. We just give you the information on how to get a complaint started. And then everything goes to an investigator.
Okay. What's the phone number to that department?
This is that department.
This is the same department, the investigating department?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody else there I could speak to?
And what was your question?
It's really, really important. I need to speak to a higher up about the situation.
Department of Health, this is Zach speaking.
Yes. Are you a supervisor there at the Department of Health?
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time?
Are you a supervisor there at the Department of Health?
I'm not a supervisor. I am an employee, though. What can I do for you today?
Yes. The situation is a really high-profile case. I need to speak to a supervisor there.
Well, why don't you give me the rundown, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, it's. I really need to speak to a superior there about this situation. May I speak to a superior, please?
I would be the individual who's here to help you, so you can speak to me, and we can go from there. But yeah, no, I'm not blindly transferring you. I believe I'm going to be able to assist you. So tell me what's going on.
Okay. There's reoccurring violations of Statute 766.110, the Healthcare Liability Statute, and there are also reoccurring violations of 18 United States Code, Statute 1513, and they're both pertinent to each other. They're both relatively connected to each other, and they're happening at the same time. Specifically in South Florida, in the city of Miami, there was an officer who attempted to murder me because I reported him misconducting himself while in a position of authority. And when I reported him, the officer attempted to murder me, and he caused several injuries to my neck, my back, and my lower extremities. And then he falsified the police reports and wrote that he arrested me and brought me to the emergency room because I was walking into traffic, and that's a lie. And his sergeant, who I reported him misconducting himself while in a position of authority to, he witnessed the officer retaliate against me by putting me in a chokehold and then twisting my neck to the right the fifth time I struggled to say I couldn't breathe. And then he picked me up and he body slammed me onto my left side onto the concrete, and then he arrested me. And the sergeant witnessed him do that, and he failed to intervene, and he violated his duty to intervene. And the officer who attempted to murder me then drove me to the emergency room, the Jackson Memorial Hospital in South Florida, and he falsified the police report. And then the Jackson Memorial Hospital, they tried to cover up the fact that the officer attempted to murder me also. And it was an ongoing problem after I had to report the situation. So I'm kind of concerned that it's going to happen again, only because the pattern that has been forming of those same reoccurring violations continuing, and they have continued to me being here in Tallahassee, to the extent of me being here in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm literally in Tallahassee, Florida for my safety because of what happened in South Florida. And I was at the emergency room on May 16th, 2024 at approximately 9 p.m. to approximately 1 a.m. the next day, May 17th, 2024. And I was transported to the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital emergency room in an ambulance because of a cervical sprain, the same injury that the officer in South Florida caused, because I reported him misconducting himself while in a position of authority. And I was at the emergency room for a follow-up appointment. When they discharged me a couple days prior, they mentioned on the discharge documentation to return to the emergency room within 1 to 2 days if I'm not able to follow up with my primary care physician within 1 to 2 days. And I wasn't able to go to my primary care physician within 1 to 2 days. So I had to call the ambulance to bring me back to the emergency room. And while I was at the emergency room, there was a nurse there identified as Nurse Christopher. The Nurse Christopher snatched the EKG wires off of my chest very aggressively, and it caused my neck to whiplash and hurt my neck real bad. And then the nurse snatched the heart rate monitor off my right index finger, and it hurt my neck real bad also. And I asked the nurse specifically, or I informed the nurse specifically that my health insurance company requires a nurse to call them so they can confirm that I'm being discharged from the emergency room, so they could dispatch transportation through my Humana Medicaid health insurance. And he didn't like that, and he snatched the EKG wires off of my chest and the heart rate monitor off my right index finger. He just grabbed a handful of the EKG wires and just snatched them forcefully off my chest. And it caused my neck to whiplash and hurt my neck. And they're supposed to remove each of the EKG wires off of the prong that's on an adhesive pad stuck to the chest of the patient. And they're supposed to remove them one by one. And instead of him doing that, he grabbed a handful of the wires and just snatched it off of my chest. And then he wheeled me out to the lobby of the emergency room. And I called 911 to report him. And I was on the phone with 911, and I was asking the front desk nurses what the nurse's name is to be able to properly report him. And the nurses started becoming really rude and aggressive and trying to falsify a police report. out of a desperate defense for the nurse that physically assaulted me. And the 911 operator, Officer Cobb, badge number 888, who called me back after I called 911 to report him. She was on the phone and she was hearing them being very rude and aggressive and trying to obstruct justice and falsify a police report out of a desperate defense for the nurse. And there was an officer who arrived named Officer Deckel, badge number 623, and the nurses falsified a police report to the officer to get me trespassed from the emergency room. And they created a big problem for me because the Officer Deckel, she committed a discourtesy also by threatening to trespass me from the emergency room under a falsified police report that the nurses propagandized out of a desperate defense for Nurse Christopher, who physically assaulted me. And they also caused big problems for me because my neurologist is at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, specifically Dr. Winston Ortiz, and he recently diagnosed me with nerve entrapment, and there's nerve tests that I have to do also at my neurologist's office there at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. So they made a big problem for me. And I asked the officer to call her supervisor because they were attempting to give her a falsified police report out of a desperate defense for the nurse who physically assaulted me. And her supervisor arrived, Sergeant Franklin specifically, and Sergeant Franklin told them that they're not supposed to trespass me for no reason. I was brought to the emergency room in an ambulance, and I was just sitting in the lobby waiting for my transportation from my health insurance company to bring me home. And they provided me a reservation number, and they clearly stated that they're going to pick me up within 30 minutes to 3 hours. And there was a nurse there, a different nurse, who called the transportation to confirm, and they gave her the information, and she confirmed the reservation number and that they were picking me up within 30 minutes to 3 hours. And the sergeant acknowledged that, and the sergeant acknowledged that I was just sitting in the lobby in a wheelchair with a neck brace on. And he said they weren't supposed to try to trespass me. I didn't do anything wrong. All I did was call 911 to report a nurse physically assaulting me. And they were aware that the Officer Cobb, badge number 888, who called me back, witnessed hearing them specifically being rude and being aggressive to me and trying to falsify a police report and obstructing justice out of a desperate defense for the nurse who physically assaulted me. And it became a big problem. So I'm trying to speak to a supervisor there to make sure that I'm not retaliated against again for filing a complaint against the officer in the hospital.
We can't control anything about the law enforcement officer. If you want to make a complaint on that individual, you need to report that to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Office of Inspector General. I can provide you a phone number for them. Now, if you want to report a complaint on Nurse Christopher, I can give you the website for our online complaint portal, and you can submit a complaint that way.
Okay. So, is there a specific department other than this department to call about these high profile situations involving reoccurring violations?
No, because the Florida Department of Health doesn't regulate law enforcement officers. We have no regulatory authority at any level within the Department of Health to regulate with a sworn law enforcement officer. So that's something that would be handled by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
Okay. And in a situation involving an officer and a hospital trying to, how could I say, cover up the fact that someone is injured, is that the same department that handles that, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Well, they'll certainly look into whatever the officer's conduct was. So, I think, but as far as, how does the hospital tie into what, they may look into, I can't really say. Now, if you have a complaint that you want to file against a specific healthcare, licensed healthcare provider, like a nurse or a CNA, doctor, you can file that with our department, and I can give you that online portal. But outside of that, we're not going to be able to do anything about, the police conduct.
Okay. And that report has to be made through the website?
Yes. If you're ready for that website, let me know and I'll give it to you.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. It's flhealthcomplaint.gov.
It says, you said flhealthcomplaints.gov?
Yeah, and complaint is singular, not plural. flhealthcomplaint.gov.
Okay. Complaint.
And then I've got the phone number for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement Office of Inspector General. If you would care for that, I can provide that to you.
Yes, what's that number?
Okay, the phone number is going to be 850-410-7228.
850-410-7228?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, let me just make sure I have it correctly. You said 850-410-7228?
Yes, that's correct.
You said that's the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. And is there any other departments I have to call to report this?
No, I believe that's it.
Okay. And what's your name, sir?
My name is Zach, and I'm with the Consumer Services Unit.
At the ACHA?
No, I'm with the Florida Department of Health, Consumer Services.
Okay. All right. And what's the best number to get in contact with you on?
You can give us a call at just one moment. It'll be hang on for me just a second here. It'll be 850-245-4339.
850-245. What was the last four numbers again?
4339.
4339. Okay. And today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024, right?
time?
Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024.
Yes, today is June 3rd, 2024.
And the time now is 1:55 p.m., right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, sir. And what's your name again?
Are you recording this phone number?
No, I just have to document everything for my safety because of the reoccurring violations of 18 United States Code Statute 1513, the retaliation against a victim, witness, or informant statute, and the reoccurring violations of Statute 766.110, the healthcare liability statute, and the fact that both of those U.S. codes and violations are reoccurringly being violated. And I have to document every single thing with as much detail as possible because from experience, from what happened in South Florida after I reported the situation, they were unethically hacking my phone. They were electronically harassing me. They were sending people to the only places I was able to find to live on Craigslist and Airbnb to purposely harass me and exhaust me of all my resources and make it difficult for me to finish all of my legal and medical affairs so I could fully recover and obtain documentations to be able to obtain monetary relief from the complaints and all of those necessary living necessities and contributing factors. And they were aware in real time everything that I was documenting because they were unethically hacking my phone. And literally there were so many occasions when I didn't document something and then I mentioned it specifically to a participating agency, and it turned out that that same participating agency was trying to cover it up as well. And they were aware that I didn't document specific things, and they took full advantage of me in those situations. So from experience, I know not to have my voicemail activated because they were utilizing that as a mechanism to cover it up also, being that they were harassing me during, before, and after all of my legal and medical affairs and necessary locations that I had to go to. And they would leave me voicemails in a manner as if they were following up on complaints and things like that. And they would leave those voicemails at specific times when they knew that, I was going to be preoccupied with something and I wasn't going to be able to check my voicemail in time. And, there would be time frames that would expire for certain situations that I would have to follow up on and things like that. So they did so many different things to try to cover up the situation. And they obviously had the upper hand because they were able to unethically hack my phone. So from experience, I know I need to document everything with as much detail, despite the fact that it's hurting my neck and my back and my hands and arms are going numb. So it's the only thing I could do is document.
The Florida Department of Law Enforcement, its Office of Inspector General, a call. They will take your complaint regarding the officers involved, and if you'll visit the website I provided you, you can submit a complaint against Nurse Christopher and any of the other nurses that you feel violated, any regulations, and we will go from there.
Okay, thank you, sir. And what's your name again?
My name is Zach, and I'm with the Consumer Services Unit.
Zach, do you have a badge number?
I do not know.
Do you have an employee ID number?
No.
Okay, well, thank you for your help, Zach.
But you can call and you can ask for Zach, and they'll get you to me.
Okay, perfect. And the department is the Consumer Services. What's the name of it again?
It's the Consumer Services Unit, and we are a part of the Florida Department of Health.
Consumer Services Unit at the Florida Department of Health. Okay, thank you, Zach.
Okay, thank you. You have a good one.
Same to you, sir. Bye. Time now is 2 p.m. The duration of this audio transcript is now 52 minutes and 53 seconds. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for calling Tallahassee Police Department, Records Division. Please hold while we transfer your call.
Wait while I transfer your call.
Good afternoon, Records Unit. How can I help you?
Yes, it's Omar again. I just called about the body camera footage. I received.
I don't know what you're talking about. First time I've spoken with you. What about the body camera footage?
I received an email saying that it says I will submit your request for body-worn camera footage. I received.
Okay, so it sounds like the original request you didn't ask for body camera footage, so that's why you didn't get it. So we submitted a new request for you to get the body camera footage. Once we get to it, we'll process it.
Yeah, so I specifically specified on the email. I said when will
What's the request number?
There's two different case numbers, but on the same email.
Request number, the PRR number.
So the only PRR number that I received the email for, it says the PRR number is 5011-2024. I'm trying to find out if that PRR number is for both of the cases.
That's for the body camera footage that I put in this morning for the body camera footage. Give you the other request. Hold on, I'll tell you what that one was.
Okay.
So, hold on.
I'm just trying to make sure that I receive the body-worn camera footage from both cases and not one of them.
So this request for is case number 2024-81715. Is that the case number you're wanting?
Yes, I need that one and the other one.
What's the other case number?
The other case number says, I'll have to go back to the email 1 second.
Oh, so there's another request you've already made.
Yes, on that same email that you responded to, where it says I'll submit your request for BWC at 7:30.
Okay, hold on. That's the one. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I wrote, when will I receive the body camera footage from both cases, specifically case 2024.
Okay, so you submitted a whole bunch of requests. So looks like our request was done 3166. That one's been completed. That one was for 2023 9,038. That one's done. Okay. Then there's another request you asked for 81715. That one is done. That's for the report. That one's completed. There's a new request in the 4616. This one is asking for, let's see. There's an additional request for the same security key, 4615, because the picture file of the exhibit of evidence potentially did not match. What are you wanting? Because I'm not. What are you asking for?
I think those are confused with a different case. On that same email that you responded to me, is your name Mrs. Jeanette Jackson?
I am.
Okay, Miss Jackson. The email that I sent to you that you responded to, it says, when will I receive the body camera footage from both cases, specifically case 2024 000-82465 on 5/16/2024, 11:47 p.m.
Yes, so we responded to you not knowing that you had already submitted another request. So that request is complete. At 4615 is complete. Let me go to these other requests that you made. This one is for body camera footage. Let's see, what case number is this? This is 2024 516008. Okay, so we have that one. Hasn't been processed yet. You'll get an invoice for that one. Looks like there's another one. That was the one I put in for you. I'm going to cancel this one because it's a duplicate request.
Okay, hold on a second. The two cases that I'm talking about, I specifically said specifically case 2024 000-82465 on 5/16/2024 at 11:47 p.m. and case 2024 000-81715 on
Okay, when you put in all these different requests, it gets all confusing. So we have a request. It looks like you put in 5 different requests. Okay. One request we have still pending is video for 2024 81715. That one's in the queue for processing. Let me go back and look at the other one. Okay, so there's still another request pending for 2024 5160008, still in the queue for processing. So there's 2 body camera footage requests still waiting to be processed.
So I'm kind of confused with these numbers. So there was only 2 cases that I requested body camera footage.
Request number is what I'm. So, and that's the thing. When you put in all these different requests, it gets confusing. So if you just put in one request and tell us what you want, that makes it easier. Instead of putting in a whole bunch of different stuff over and over and over again, that makes it confusing.
Yeah, that's not what I did though. So I'm sure that other people have done that a lot, and it's frustrating. But I'm sorry that happened. I didn't do that. What I'm trying to say is, I put in 2 requests, and I received both of those police reports at the same time on the same email. And so, but I didn't receive the body camera footage. And on that
Okay, so what I'm telling you is there's 2 requests still pending that we have not gotten to for body camera footage.
Oh, okay. Is it from both of those cases? That's all I'm trying to
So I'm going to give you the case number again. So that case number is 2024 5160008 is what you requested. And then looks like another one, 2024 82465. Is that the 2 reports that you're talking about?
The 82465 I'm familiar with. The first one, what was that number you said?
So 2024 5160008.
516.
Oh, wait a minute. You got a whole bunch of, hold on. I don't know what all this is. Okay, so, let me get it. You got a whole bunch of numbers here, and this basically looks like the same case number, so it should be the 82465.
So
I'm just going to take this out because that is very confusing with all those different numbers. So I'm going to take this one out.
Okay, so
the 2024 82465, got that one. Okay, let me go to the other request and see if I have what this one is.
So the 2 case numbers is the 82465, and the second case number is 81715.
Yeah, that's correct. Let me give you the requests so you know which requests go to what. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So the 81715, that request number is going to be PRR 5011-2024.
And that's for the body camera footage?
That is for body camera footage. The next one, body camera footage again. This request number the report number is going to be 2024-82465, and that request number is going to be PRR -4625 -2024.
4625-2024. And then the body camera footage that from the hospital, I requested the body camera footage from Officer Deckel,
What case number? Because I don't. When you talk about all of that, I know by case number. I don't know when you say body camera footage from the hospital. I'm not sure what that means.
The 81715, if I'm not mistaken.
81715. Okay. Yes, we have that.
Okay. So on that same request, I asked for the body camera footage from Officer Deckel, Sergeant Franklin, and Officer Young. Are they?
So what we're going to do is we're going to look at your request. We're going to tell you what all we have available, provide you an invoice. Once you pay the invoice, then we'll start processing.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, because I specifically confirmed with them to make sure that they turn on their body cameras, and they showed me. They said, yes, look, it's on, and they showed me the indicator light and the symbol. So they showed me it was on. So they should have the body camera footage. I'm hoping they do.
We should have it, yes, but we're going to have to get to your request. We don't just, we have numerous people that request body camera footage. It'll probably be about a month before we get to your request. But yes, once we get to it, we'll send you out an invoice and then we'll process it.
Okay, another thing too, the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, they asked me to call the Tallahassee Police Department and demand that they send them a subpoena for the hospital camera footage. Were they able to do that yet?
I have no idea. We don't do that here in records. I'll send you to the duty officer. You're welcome to speak to someone there.
Okay, so what is the proper process of me?
We provide records here. I don't know what the process would be for that. I'll send you to the duty officer. You're welcome to speak with them.
Okay. So when I call the duty office, do I just tell them the same thing at the hospital?
You sure do. You tell them the same thing you just told me, and then they'll direct you to the right person.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you for calling the Tallahassee Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. Please listen carefully to the following menu. If you need an officer to respond to your location, press 1. If you feel you are having a mental health emergency, press 2. If you would like to make a police report but do not need to meet with an officer, press 3. To request a completed TPD crash or police report, press 4. If you would like to speak to a detective assigned to a case that has already been reported, press 5. If you would like to speak to someone in Employee Resources or interested in a career at TPD, press 6. If you have a general question for or about the police department or would like to speak to the duty officer, press 7. If you want to file a complaint about an encounter with a Tallahassee police officer, press 8. If you need information about paying tickets or landlord-tenant disputes, press 9. If you would like to...
Wait while I transfer your call.
Thank you for calling the Tallahassee Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. Please listen carefully to the following menu. If you need an officer to respond to your location, press 1. If you feel you are having a mental health emergency, press 2. If you would like to make a police report but do not need to meet with an officer, press 3.
Wait while I transfer your call.
Thank you for calling the Tallahassee Police Department, Records Division. Please hold while we transfer your call.
Wait while I transfer your call.
Yes, this is Omar again. They hung up the phone. Is there a number, a specific number I could call, just in case if you transfer me again and they hang up?
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. You may have spoken with someone else. How can I help you?
Yes. Is this Miss Jackson? Miss Jeanette?
It's not.
Oh. I'm trying to get in contact with the proper department, the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. They specifically directed me to call the Tallahassee Police Department and demand a subpoena for the camera footage from the hospital. The previous representative at the records department there, they told me to explain that same thing to the duty officer, and they'll tell me what I need to do or what they need to do. So they transferred me, but the phone hung up.
Okay, hold on just a moment.
Your own utilities provide some of the best and most innovative programs in the nation. All are designed to offer choices and flexibility while helping customers save energy, water, and money. You can take advantage of free energy audits, natural gas appliance rebates, energy efficiency loans, recycling incentives, and much more. For more information, call 850-891-4968 or visit calgov.com and click on the utility link. Want to fly? We make it easy and convenient at the Tallahassee International Airport. We offer more than 30 daily flights to 6 major hubs, including nonstop service to Atlanta, Charlotte, Dallas-Fort Worth, Miami, Orlando, Tampa, and Fort Lauderdale.
Wait. Y'all don't know what I'm...
Worldwide. Whether you're traveling for business or leisure.
Marcus, Jeanette, how can I help you?
Jeanette, this is Omar again.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I was... you transferred me to the duty office, I think. But when it was ringing, the phone was ringing and ringing, and then the phone hung up.
Okay, I'll send you back to the duty office. Hold, please.
Is there a number I could call just in case if they hang up again?
So 891-4200.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
And from youth sports to...
Thank you for calling the Tallahassee Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. Please
wait while I transfer your call.
Thank you for calling the Tallahassee Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. Please listen carefully to the following menu. If you need an officer to respond to your location, press 1. If you feel you are having a mental health emergency, press 2. If you would like to make a police report but do not need to meet with an officer, press 3.
Wait while I transfer your call.
Thank you for calling the Tallahassee Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911.
Wait while I transfer your call.
Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911.
Wait while I transfer your call.
Thank you for calling the Tallahassee Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. Please listen carefully to the following menu. If you need an officer to respond to your location, press 1. If you feel you are having a mental health emergency, press 2. If you would like to make a police report but do not need to meet with an officer, press 3. To request a completed TPD crash or police report, press 4. If you would like to speak to a detective assigned to a case that has already been reported, press 5. If you would like to speak to someone in Employee Resources or interested in a career at TPD, press 6. If you have a general question for or about the police department or would like to speak to the duty officer, press 7. If you want to file a complaint about an encounter with a Tallahassee police officer, press 8. If you need For questions about traffic accidents, press 1. To speak with a detective in hit and run or traffic homicide, press 2. To speak with a detective in the narcotics division, press 3. To speak with a detective assigned to a property or persons crime, press 4. To return to the previous menu, press pound.
Wait while I transfer your call. Sorry, Criminal Investigation Bureau is not available. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
My name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad. Last name Fuad, Foxtrot, Oscar, Uniform, Alpha, Delta, Fouad. My phone number is my phone number is 772-538-8586. Once again, my phone number is 772-538-8586. And I'm calling in reference to a case involving a Tallahassee police officer, specifically Officer Deckel, Sergeant Franklin, and there was also another officer that was dispatched, Officer Young. Specifically, Officer Deckel committed a discourtesy, and I asked Officer Deckel to call her supervisor, and then Sergeant Franklin arrived. Specifically, Officer Deckel, she threatened to trespass me for no reason, and I did nothing wrong. And that was after I called 911 to report a nurse at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. The nurse was identified as Nurse Christopher. And when I asked the front desk nurses there what that particular nurse's name is, they started to try to propagandize a falsified police report out of a desperate defense for the nurse, because the nurse assaulted me. Specifically, I was at the emergency room. I was brought there in an ambulance for a cervical sprain. I had on a neck brace, and I was also in a wheelchair. But the nurse, identified as Nurse Christopher, snatched all of the EKG wires off of my chest very aggressively, and it hurt my neck really bad. And he snatched the heart rate monitor off my right index finger, and that also hurt my neck really bad. And he then wheeled me out to the lobby area, and he was very irate, and he had really bad bedside manners. And because of the fact that he assaulted me, I called 911 to report the situation, and as I was reporting the situation to the 911 officer that called me back, I was in the front lobby area, and I was standing in front of the front desk nurses, and I was asking them what that nurse's name is specifically, so I could be able to identify that nurse properly to the 911 operator that called me back. And the 911 operator, I believe her last name is Cobb, C-O-B-B. She specifically told me not to worry, I didn't do anything wrong, and she could hear them being rude to me just from me asking them what the nurse's name is, and they were just sitting there trying to propagandize a falsified police report as if I did something wrong, because I was sitting in a wheelchair asking them at the front desk what that nurse's name is, and I was also waiting for my transportation to bring me home after being discharged from the emergency room that day. And the transportation requires a nurse to call them. The transportation is through my health insurance company, and they require a nurse to call them to tell them that I'm being discharged so they could dispatch the transportation. And when I told the Nurse Christopher, to do that, he didn't like that they require him to call them to tell them I'm being discharged so they could send transportation. And he snatched the EKG wires off of my chest, as well as the heart rate monitor that was on my right index finger. And traditionally, they're supposed to take each one of those EKG wires off one by one. They're attached to a metal prong that's attached to an adhesive that has a pad, like similar to a sticker that's stuck on somebody's chest. And instead of him taking each one off one by one, he just grabbed a handful of all the wires and snatched all of them off very aggressively, and it hurt my neck really bad.
You are approaching the maximum length for a recording. Finish your recording after the tone.
The time now is 12:16 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. Please call me as soon as you get this message. My phone number again is 772-538-8586.
You have reached the maximum length for a recording. To send this message, press pound or hang up. To play it, your message has been sent. If you would like to try an extension, you may do so now. Goodbye.
Thank you for calling the Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. Please listen carefully to the following menu. If you need an officer to respond to your location, press 1. If you feel you are having a mental health emergency, press 2. If you would like to make a police report but do not need to meet with an officer, press 3. To request a completed TPD crash or police report, press 4. If you would like to speak to a detective assigned to a case that has already been reported, press 5. If you would like to speak to someone in Employee Resources or interested in a career at TPD, press 6. If you have a general question for or about the police department. For questions about traffic accidents, press 1. To speak with a detective in hit and run or traffic homicide, press 2. To speak with a detective in the narcotics division, press 3. To speak with a detective assigned to a property or persons crime, press 4. To return to the previous menu, press pound.
Wait while I transfer your call. Sorry, Criminal Investigation Bureau is not available. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
My name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fouad. Last name Fouad, Foxtrot, Oscar, Uniform, Alpha, Delta, Fouad. My phone number is 772-538-8586. I just left a a voicemail right before I left this voicemail. The time now is 12:18 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. The voicemail timed out before I was able to finish telling you about this situation. Specifically, the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, the security agent there, identified as Philip Doyle, last name Doyle, Delta Oscar Yellow Lima Echo, Doyle. He specifically directed me to call the Tallahassee Police Department and demand that they send them a subpoena for the camera footage. My phone number is 772-538-8586. Please call me as soon as you get this message. The time now is 12:19 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. The officers involved in this case is Officer Deckel from the Tallahassee Police Department, Sergeant Franklin, and Officer Young. Those were the three officers that were dispatched. Specifically, Officer Deckel, badge number 623. She committed a discourtesy and threatened to trespass me for no reason. And I asked her to call her supervisor, and Sergeant Franklin arrived, and he confirmed that I was brought there by an ambulance, and I was just sitting in the lobby of the emergency room waiting for my transportation to arrive. And they confirmed that the transportation was called and notified that I was discharged from the emergency room, and they said that the transportation was going to arrive within 30 minutes to 3 hours, and I was just sitting in the lobby in a wheelchair with a neck brace on because I had to go to the emergency room in an ambulance because of a cervical sprain. So I'm doing my due diligence and I'm reporting the situation in its entirety. I requested the body camera footage as well as the police report and all of the necessary documentation pertaining to this. It says the Tallahassee Police Department case number is 24-82465, and the PRR is 4625-2024. Once again, I was directed to call the Tallahassee Police Department and ask for investigations, and specifically asked them, specifically tell them that I'm demanding them to send a subpoena to Tallahassee Memorial Hospital and make the subpoena out to Philip Doyle, first name Philip, Philip, last name Doyle, Doyle, specifically to preserve the video footage from May 16, 2024 at approximately 9 p.m. to May 17, 2024 at approximately 1 a.m. And the two questions that they asked me to ask the Tallahassee Police Department is where they are with the investigation and whether or not they requested any information from Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. The time now is 12:23 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. Please call me as soon as you get this message.
You are approaching the maximum length for a recording. Finish your recording after the tone.
Please call me as soon as you get this message. My phone number is 772-538-8586. Once again, my phone number is 772-538-8586.
You have reached the maximum length for a recording. To send this message, press pound or hang up. To play it, 3. To re-record it, your message has been sent. If you would like to try an extension, you may do so now. Goodbye.
Thank you for calling Tallahassee Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. Please listen carefully to the following menu. If you need an officer to respond to your location, press 1. If you feel you are having a mental health emergency, press 2. If you would like to make a police report but do not need to meet with an officer, press 3. To request a completed TPD crash or police report, press 4. If you would like to speak to a detective assigned to a case that has already been reported, press 5. If you would like to speak to someone in Employee Resources or interested in a career at TPD, press 6. If you have a general question for or about the police department or would like to speak to the duty officer, press 7. If you want to file a complaint about an encounter with a Tallahassee police officer, press 8. If you need information about paying tickets or landlord-tenant disputes, press 9. If you would like to speak with an operator, please press the pound symbol to be transferred to the first available operator.
Wait while I transfer your call.
Tallahassee Police, can I help you?
Yes. Is there a way to make an anonymous complaint about an officer?
Yep, there is. It's internal affairs. How can I help you?
Yes. So there's a situation involving an officer at the Tallahassee Police Department. To be honest with you, I'm worried that if I put a complaint in against the officer, I'll be retaliated against. And I'm saying that from experience because I reported an officer misconducting themselves while they were in a position of authority in Miami, specifically an officer from the City of Miami Police Department. And when I reported the officer to the officer's sergeant, the officer put me in a chokehold. And then the 5th time I struggled to say I couldn't breathe, he twisted my neck to the right. And then he picked me up and he body slammed me onto the concrete, onto my left side. And then he arrested me. And then he falsified the police report and wrote that he arrested me and brought me to the emergency room because I was walking into traffic. And the sergeant who I reported him to, he failed to intervene. He violated his duty to intervene. And they both violated 18 United States Code Statute 1513, the retaliation against a victim, witness, or informant statute. And then there was a PRI officer that arrived, and the PRI...
Sorry, I don't need to hear all that unless you just want to tell me, but I'm happy to take your complaint against the Tallahassee police officer if you'd like. You don't have to give me your name. I might or might not need it, but let's start off with what happened here in Tallahassee.
Okay, yes. So I'm concerned about making the complaint, so if you could do that for me, I would really, really appreciate that wholeheartedly.
I'm ready to listen.
Yeah, just to fill you in on the entirety of the severity of the situation, the PRI officer that arrived, he immediately confronted the officer who attempted to murder me for telling on him, and he asked him, he said, "Why did you beat him up?" And the officer ended up yelling at him saying, "Man, let's just take him somewhere and beat the SHIT out of him some more." And he followed him in a separate police vehicle while he drove me to the emergency room in Miami, and he falsified the police report also. So they did a lot of wrong things just to try to cover up the fact that I reported an officer misconducting himself while he was in a position of authority, and the fact that they did a lot of different things to try to cover up the fact that the officer attempted to murder me and caused injuries to my neck and my back and my lower extremities. Specifically, I was at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital emergency room. I was brought to the Tallahassee Memorial emergency room because of the same injury that the officer caused to me in Miami. I had to call 911, and they brought me to the TMH emergency room in Tallahassee for a cervical sprain. And I was there with a neck brace on, and I was in a wheelchair. And there was a nurse there named Nurse Christopher. And that nurse specifically grabbed a handful of the EKG wires that were on my chest and snatched them off of my chest, and also snatched the heart rate wire monitor that was on my right index finger off of my finger. And it also hurt my neck when he did that. And he did that after I asked him if he could call my transportation company from my health insurance to notify them that I'm being discharged, because they require a nurse to call them to inform them that I'm being discharged so they could dispatch transportation to bring me home. And he didn't like that, and he snatched the EKG wires off my chest and the heart rate monitor off my right index finger. And he also was very erratic, and he had really bad bedside manners. And he then wheeled me out into the lobby, and I called 911 to report him. And I was asking the front desk nurses what that nurse's name is to be able to identify him properly to the 911 operator that called me back after I called 911. And when the 911 operator called me back, I was sitting in front of the nurse's desk at the Tallahassee Memorial Emergency Room on the second floor of the parking garage there. And I was asking them what the nurse's name is so I could properly identify him to the 911 officer who called me back. And as I was telling the 911 officer the report, she could hear the front desk nurses arguing with me, yelling at me, and trying to propagandize a false report out of a desperate defense for the nurse that assaulted me. And they were purposely doing that to try to get me trespassed from the emergency room for no reason. And the 911 operator heard them, and she told me, don't worry, you didn't do anything wrong. What is that nurse's name who's talking to you like that right now? And then she said, a matter of fact, give them my number and tell them to call me. Because she could hear how they were talking to me. They were being very rude and disrespectful to me. And they called 911, I'm assuming. And there was an officer who arrived named Officer Deckel, a female officer named Officer Deckel, specifically badge number 623. And she threatened to trespass me from the emergency room for no reason. And she threatened to do that under a falsified police report by those same nurses that the 911 operator could hear them literally falsifying or trying to propagandize a falsified report out of a desperate defense for the nurse that assaulted me, Nurse Christopher specifically. And when Officer Deckel, badge number 623 from the Tallahassee Police Department, threatened to trespass me under a falsified report, I asked her to call her supervisor. And Sergeant Franklin arrived, and specifically Sergeant Franklin confirmed that I was brought to the emergency room by ambulance, and I was sitting in the lobby waiting for my transportation to arrive to bring me home, and the transportation was from my health insurance company. And he confirmed that my transportation was called, and they provided me a reservation number, and they said that they were going to be arriving within 30 minutes to 3 hours. And he said they can't trespass me for no reason, and all I'm doing is just sitting in the lobby in a wheelchair with a neck brace on, and I'm not doing anything wrong. And he told them that they can't trespass me. And I asked them if their body cameras were on, and they said yes. And the Sergeant Franklin, his badge number is 720. And he also then dispatched another officer named Officer Young, badge number 748. And I asked Officer Deckel and Officer Young if they could transport me to a different hospital, because I was starting to feel chest pain, very sharp chest pain in the middle of my chest. and then the sharp chest pain went from the middle of my chest to directly above my heart, and it was a very strong, sharp chest pain. And Officer Deckel transported me to the HCA Lake Jackson emergency room, and but at the same time, I need to know what I need to do in this situation. I can't be trespassed from the emergency room for no reason, especially under a falsified report. And then on top of that, my neurologist is at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, Dr. Winston Ortiz. He recently...
Sir, can I interrupt you for a second? I have gotten a lot of information from you, okay? But I work for the Internal Affairs Unit here at the Tallahassee Police Department. That's the number you called.
Yes.
I have nothing to do with hospital staff or nursing or anything to do with TMH in general with their staff. I cannot tell you anything about discipline or making complaints against nurses or anything like that. I can only handle complaints against Tallahassee police officers. So do you have a complaint against them?
Yes, only because it's pertinent to the case in its entirety. I'm not trying to tell you I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job.
You're not. I know that. I just want to make sure we're clear on what my authority is.
Yes, it's just that it's pertinent. That's really all that it is. And I'm just worried that if I make the report about Officer Deckel, badge number 623, that I might be retaliated.
Officer Deckel, and just so you know, Florida statute, when it comes to trespassing, any person in the business that has authority over that business, for example, a manager, a cashier, a owner, can have anyone trespass from their business for any cause that they see fit. For example, you might not like it. It might not be constitutional, but any business can say, today, anyone wearing a blue shirt has to leave my business. I am not serving them. I do not want them here. If somebody refuses wearing a blue shirt, and they can call the police and say, I want that woman with a blue shirt to be removed from my business because she's wearing a blue shirt and I want her trespassed, we have to trespass them from that business.
Yeah, it's just the fact that it's pertinent to obstruction of justice. Like, they specifically falsified a police report out of a desperate defense.
So they have every right to trespass you from the hospital. They can tell the officer, by the authority of Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, I am, for example, the nurse in charge, whoever it might be. I work here. I want him removed, and I want him trespassed. They can do that.
Yeah, so I called 911, and they witnessed them falsifying a police report and attempting to obstruct justice, and that's what they did. They tried to get me trespassed from the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital emergency room.
Were you issued a trespass warning? Did they give you a case number?
No, they didn't give me any trespass warning or anything.
But they drove you to the hospital and took you to HCA, Lake Jackson?
Yes, because I was having chest pain.
So what is your complaint against Officer Deckel?
Yeah, so Officer Deckel driving me to HCA, and Officer Young following behind her in a separate vehicle and bringing me to the emergency room. I'm grateful for that.
Okay.
I'm not saying, they should be penalized for driving me to the HCA Lake Jackson emergency room because I was having chest pain, nor am I saying that, supersedes the fact that she committed a discourtesy and attempted to allow them to obstruct justice. Now,
who, Officer Deckel?
Officer Deckel, yes.
And I just explained the law to you, sir.
Yes.
She was under the authority of TMH. One of the nurses there was asked to remove you from the hospital. Your complaint is with the nurse, not with Officer Deckel, from what you're telling me.
Well, I called 911 because a nurse assaulted me in the emergency room, and I was just simply trying to ask them what that nurse's name is so I could properly report them.
I heard all that. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, and I explained that to Officer Deckel, which she became intimidating and rude, saying, she's going to trespass me for no reason.
Because the hospital asked us to.
But what I'm trying to say is I explained to her that all I was doing was reporting the nurse that assaulted me, and I was just sitting waiting for my transportation to bring me home. And
what I explained to you is the law says that nurse can have you trespass from that hospital. Even though you might not like it, even though you had business there, they have that authority, and we're just following their authority. So it's not a violation on DECL. It seems to me, and I've been listening to you, it seems to me your complaint is against some staff members, nurses, etc. at TMH.
Well, yes, so I did what they asked me to do. I called the security agent there at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. His name is Philip Doyle. Specifically Philip Doyle. He acknowledged the situation, and he asked me to call the Tallahassee Police Department and make a demand and ask 2 questions. He specifically told me to demand for them to send a subpoena to the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital and make it out to Philip Doyle. First name Philip, Philli.
We're not doing a subpoena for what? For records?
For the camera footage from.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We will not be doing that. We don't have an open investigation. If the officers on scene, and again, you didn't give me your name, so I apologize. It's hard for me to have a conversation with you about this. But if the officers did not give you a case number, they did not write a report. They might have done some CAT notes to tell they transferred you, and they brought you to HCA. They might have put some notes in there, but without your name, I can't look it up.
Yes.
So based on what you're telling me, there will be no investigation on our part by any detective or internal affairs, because in order to write a subpoena out to get records, we'd have to have an open case. And we do not have an open case if they did not provide you with a case number.
So I spoke to Officer Cobb, COBB, Charlie Oscar Bravo.
One of our civilian employees. She's not an officer. Yes, sir?
Okay. She said her badge number is 888.
Yes, she has a badge number, but she's not a cop.
She provided me with a case number 2482465.
Okay. Hold on one second. I'm sorry, I didn't have my pen out.
2482465.
Okay. Do you want me to look into this and call you back with more information?
Yes. My full name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad.
Spell your last name, Mr. Omar?
Fuad. Foxtrot Oscar Uniform Alpha Delta FOUAD.
Okay.
Yes, my father Mohsen Fuad, he retired from the Broward Sheriff's Office after 30 years of service.
Thank you for your service. Could I get a phone number for you, sir, that I could call you back at?
Absolutely. My phone number is 772
Okay.
538-8586.
And let me, again, because you gave me so much information, your complaint against DECL is what exactly?
Okay, because it's pertinent to the case, specifically involving Nurse Christopher.
Yeah, your whole complaint is on the way TMH staff treated you. You just told me that TPD gave you a ride. You had no complaint with them. And then I explained how trespass works, which I'm sure if your father worked for Broward, he knows the exact statute, and he knows everything I'm telling you is factual. You could call him and verify it, that a business can have you trespassed. And in this case, TMH Hospital is the business. Yes. So everything that you're saying makes sense to me, and I hear you, but your argument and complaint is with TMH. You're saying they should never have transferred you, that you still have business, you have a doctor that's there at TMH that you're going to have to go see. They have to answer your complaints, yes. Not TPD, not our officers. Yes. We are only providing the authority for the business who asked for the trespass. Now, I can look into how my officers, DECL, Franklin, and Young, responded to you, but your complaint, if everything that I'm hearing, is with TMH and their staff, not with Tallahassee Police and our officers.
Yes, traditionally, though, because the pertinence of the situation, for example, Officer DECL, she committed a discourtesy, and by her committing that discourtesy, it empowered those nurses who were falsifying that police report and obstructing justice.
But she's given the authority by TMH to have you trespassed and removed, which is lawful.
What I'm trying to say is she committed a discourtesy while she was doing that, and that empowered them to continue to falsify that police report.
How did she commit? Describe to me, if you can, how she committed a discourtesy. I don't understand what that means.
Okay, so she was threatening me. She was threatening to trespass me.
Right,
under falsified police report.
They have given her the authority to do, which is lawful.
Yeah, but they didn't give her any reason to.
They don't have to. I told you that in the statute. It could be a blue shirt day. Yeah. I want everyone kicked out of my business for wearing a blue shirt.
But the point I'm trying to make is, I called 911 and they heard them being rude to me and disrespectful and trying to falsify.
And again, those are hospital employees. That is where your complaint needs to go. Not to the officers who showed up and worked under the color of law to handle what TMH was describing as a trespass, which they have every right to do. If the employees you feel were empowered because a police officer showed up on scene, then your complaint is with TMH. I will be happy to look at this and watch my officers, but I can tell you right now, the way the statute is written, they are allowed to, based on business authority, to come in and trespass people from the hospital.
Okay.
And I can call you back after I watch their body cameras and see what I see. But if your question is she had no authority to do the trespass because everything the nurses were saying you believe was a lie, was not true, and they were just being rude to you because you wanted to make a complaint on the original nurse, Christopher, then we don't know that. And Deckel is only doing what she is given the authority to do by statute. Okay. But I will look at it if you want. I have no problem with that, Mr. Omar. I really don't.
Yeah, so just like you would investigate, if she was utilizing the fact that she was being rude to me in front of those same nurses who were falsifying a police report and obstructing justice.
I would call you back with my determination if she was being rude. And if she is being rude, then she's in violation of some of our policies. If she is just following the authority of law, or by issuing a trespass by a legal authority within the hospital, she's not violating any of our policies.
Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. Like what I'm trying to say is, if she was utilizing the fact that she saw me sitting there in a wheelchair, in a neck brace on, I called 911. If she was aware that I called 911, which I'm sure she is, and she was aware that
that's how we showed up.
Right.
Yeah, that's how we showed up. I'm sure.
Right, and if she's aware that Officer Cobb literally witnessed hearing them being rude and trying to falsify a report, and she was standing in front of me being rude and talking to me very rudely and saying she could trespass me for no reason, and if she was using that specific demeanor and rudeness
to get you to leave,
no, to investigate the case more, to see how those nurses were going to respond and see if their falsified police report is going to change, to see if they're going to continue falsifying the police report and how much they're going to obstruct justice.
There's no falsifying of a police report, sir. I'm going to go back to my blue shirt story to you. If you were wearing a blue if it's me, I'm wearing a blue shirt, and business of McDonald's wants to kick everyone out, and that manager says everyone wearing a blue shirt has to leave, and I call 911. And I say, this is ridiculous. I'm a patron. I haven't done anything wrong. I want a Big Mac and a fries. And this manager is trying to throw me out just because I have a blue shirt on. And they hear in the background the manager screaming, get out, get out, get out, being rude to me. Lady in the blue shirt, get out. I told you to leave. That doesn't mean they're falsifying a report, sir. It means the manager wants me to go, and I'm not going. And I'm calling the police because I think it's illegal. When the police get there, the manager says, I want that lady in the blue shirt out. I don't care that she's buying a Big Mac. I'm not selling it to her. Get her out. Right. That officer will come there and tell me, I'm Officer John Smith, and by the authority of the McDonald's manager, they're asking you to leave. If you don't leave, you could be arrested for trespass.
Okay. See, those are two different extremes, though. I was brought to the emergency room in an ambulance because of a cervical sprain from an officer injuring me in South Florida.
I get that. In Miami. You told me all of that, sir. And then when you were dismissed, the hospital felt like they wanted you to leave, whether you believed that they had a reason to do it or not, and the nurse was rude to you, I believe you. Maybe the nurse was terrible to you. Maybe the nurse was absolutely terrible to you. It doesn't mean that the hospital doesn't have the authority to trespass you or ask you to leave their property.
Well, they violated Statute 766.110, the healthcare liability statute.
Then that is your complaint with ACA, which is the healthcare governing body here in Tallahassee in the state capital against all medical professionals. That's who gives them licenses. That's who gives them their ability to practice medicine. But I will look into it as far as my officers are concerned. But your complaint needs to go through ACA, who handles all healthcare professionals in the state of Florida.
ACHA?
Yes.
Yes. I'm familiar with that because of the situation in Miami. They violated 18 United States Code.
Right.
1513.
So, I'll be happy to look at my officers' body cameras, but and call you back with my findings. But your complaint needs to be registered with supervisors at TMH and ACA, not Tallahassee Police. But I'll look at my officers that were on scene and watch their body cameras, and I'll call you back. Yeah, does that make sense?
It helps. The only thing, it's an investigation that I'm asking to be opened up. So, I understand your perspective of the situation because I've been in this situation previously. So from experience, certain situations kind of need to be approached differently, especially when, it involves officers.
I only investigate officers, sir. I am the Sergeant of Internal Affairs. That is my sole job, is to police the police.
Right. So, like I was saying, in South Florida, they violated both together. They violated Statute 7.
I don't work for South Florida, nor do any of the officers that work for me.
Yeah. The point I'm trying to make is, similar to South Florida, I'm concerned that it might be happening again in Tallahassee. Now.
Okay. And that's why I told you I would look into my officers and I'd call you back with my findings.
Right. But I need to bring something to your attention. In South Florida, the officers and the hospital that they brought me to, they both violated these two statutes together. The officers violated 18 United States Code Statute 1513, and they falsified the police report. And when they brought me to the hospital also tried to cover up the fact that the officer attempted to murder me, and they violated Statute 766.110, the healthcare liability statute. And the officers violated 18 U.S.C. SS 1513, the retaliation against a victim, witness, or informant statute. And the officers and the hospital did that together. So I'm concerned that this might happen again in Tallahassee.
That was all in South Florida. I can't go back in time. I can only look at my officers' body cameras and give you a call back with my findings of whether or not they violated any policies.
Right. So that's just, I need you to make sure you're aware of it in its entirety, because the situation continued. And
you have absolutely explained it to me.
Yes. And is there anything I could do for you?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. I will call you back after I watch their body cameras, like I said.
Okay, absolutely. And also, I requested the body camera footage from all three, from both of the officers and the sergeant.
You did that from records?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. And what was I going to say? I noticed that she didn't write on the report that I called 911 and that the 911 officer called me back and heard the front desk nurses being rude and trying to falsify a police report. So I thought that was also very important for me to mention to you. Because
I got it.
Yeah. And I recorded the conversation when I was talking to the 911.
That is a violation of law if you recorded that conversation, sir.
Yeah, I had to for my safety.
Then don't tell me that because you could be arrested for that. That's a violation of law.
Well, then unfortunately I'd have to take that to trial, but for my safety.
In Florida, it's two-party consent. I am not recording this conversation, but if I was, I would have to tell you I am recording it.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is, though, the violations...
You just told me you broke the law, so I have to tell you as a law enforcement officer, I have to inform you that that's against Florida statute.
Yeah, with all due respect, I'm not too concerned about that. The situation has been...
All right. Well, let me look at your complaint, sir, and I'll give you a call back, okay?
Yeah, but like I was saying, though, it's reoccurring. Ma'am, I'm not trying to say you're doing anything wrong. What I'm trying to say is the problem is reoccurring. So the only...
Right, but I have nothing to do with South Florida. I can only handle what Deckel, Franklin, and Young did.
Right, but the point I'm trying to make is that, once again, I can't be made out to be someone who's doing something wrong when I'm just trying to protect myself. Literally, the only security that I have is me documenting my attempt to fully recover from the police brutality case originally in Miami, and I'm now in Tallahassee, Florida, for my safety. So I have to document when I call 911. I have to document when I complain.
All the calls into 911 are recorded.
Yeah,
you don't need to record them as well.
Yeah. So also, just to reiterate, she didn't mention that I called 911 and reported it, and that Officer Cobb specifically told me to tell the nurse to call her because she overheard them clearly being rude to me and trying to falsify the police report. So, she didn't mention
I told you that I would look into it. I can't go into this anymore other than to tell you I'll look into it and I'll give you a call back with my findings. Okay?
Thank you. And what's your name?
Sergeant Ryan, Ryan, badge number 211.
Okay. Thank you, Officer Sergeant Ryan.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye. Time now is 12:55 p.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. The duration of this audio transcript is 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 8 seconds. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It says PRR 5011 2024.
5011.
2024.
Okay. Give me just a moment. You just put in the request today at 7:31 this morning. I can confirm that we do have that request in our queue. And once we get to your request number, we'll send the information. Looks like you're looking for video. So you will receive an invoice that will need to be paid before the information is released. But I can confirm that we do have that request in our queue as of 7:31 this morning.
Okay, perfect. Do you know how much it's going to cost?
I don't.
Okay. Do you know when they'll tell me how much it's going to cost?
Excuse me?
Do you know when they'll tell me how much it's going to cost?
Whenever they get to your request number, you will be provided an invoice in that will have to be paid before the information is released.
Okay, and they'll send me that on my email?
Excuse me?
They're gonna email that information to me?
If that's what you requested, that's how you'll receive the invoice. And it looks like that's what you request, an email, so it will be sent to the email address provided.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Today, the time now is 11:43 a.m. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. The duration of this audio transcript is 1 minute, 48 seconds. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.